It happened many years ago in a quiet village deep in West Africa. Our village was small, everyone knew each other and life was peaceful. At night, the only sounds you could hear were crickets, distant drums, and sometimes the wind moving through the tall palm trees. I was about 22 years old at the time, living alone in my late father's small mud house at the edge of the village. People in the village always warned me about living there alone. Not because of thieves, but because the house was close to the old forest. And the elders always said strange things sometimes came out of that forest after midnight. I never believed them until one night. The first knock. It was a quiet night. The moon was bright and the air was cool. I had just finished eating cassava and groundnut soup and was preparing to sleep. Suddenly, knock, knock, knock. Someone was knocking on my wooden door. I checked the time on my small phone. It was 12:17 a.m. I was surprised. No one in the village visits people at that time of night. Still, I walked to the door and asked, "Who is there?" No answer. The knocking stopped. I opened the door slowly. But outside, there was no one there. The compound was completely empty. The moonlight covered the ground and I could see clearly in every direction. Nothing. I closed the door thinking maybe it was the wind or a goat passing by. But deep inside, something felt strange. The second night. The next night, everything was normal again. I almost forgot about the strange knocking. But exactly at 12:17 a.m., knock, knock, knock. My heart froze. It was the same knock, slow, heavy and deliberate. This time I did not open the door immediately. Instead, I stood quietly inside and listened. Then I heard something that made my blood run cold, a soft whisper outside the door. Someone was calling my name. Samuel. The voice was low and unnatural. It sounded like someone speaking from very far away. I quickly opened the door again, no one. The entire compound was empty, but this time I noticed something strange. There were footprints in the sand, large footprints. They came from the direction of the forest and stopped directly in front of my door, but there were no footprints leading back. The third night, that night I could not sleep. I kept thinking about the footprints, about the whisper, and about how the steps came to my door but never left. The next day I told an old man in the village what happened. When he heard the story, his face became very serious. He told me something I had never heard before. He said long ago, the forest behind by my house was known for wandering spirits, spirits that knock on doors at night. If someone opens the door when they knock 3 times, they enter the house, and they never leave. I laughed nervously. I did not believe in such things. But that night, everything became worse. The third knock. At exactly 12:17 a.m., knock. Silence. Then again, knock. My heart was beating fast. Then the third knock came, knock. But this time the voice came again, closer than before. "Samuel," and opened the door. My hands began shaking, but I refused to open the door. Minutes passed. Then suddenly, I heard heavy footsteps walking around my house. Slow steps, moving along the walls. Then above me, something began walking on the roof. The roof was made of zinc sheets, and the sound was loud. Thump, thump, thump. The footsteps were too heavy to be human. I sat silently in the darkness, afraid to breathe. Then suddenly, everything stopped. The night became quiet again. The morning discovery. When the sun rose the next morning, I finally opened the door. What I saw made my entire body go cold. The same large footprints were in the sand again. But this time they were everywhere around my house, around the walls, around the window, and directly under the roof. But what terrified me the most was the final set of footprints. They stopped right in front of my door, and beside them was something written in the sand. Just one word, my name, the ending. That same day I packed my things and left the house. I moved to another part of the village and never returned to that place again. But even today, sometimes when I think about that night, I still remember the sound, the slow knocking and the whisper calling my name. Because deep in my heart, I believe that if I had opened the door that third time, something from the forest would have come inside, and I would never have been the same again.